Welcome. I'm delighted to have with me today JoAnn Stonier, who is a fellow at Mastercard. And welcome, JoAnn.
Hi, Ramon. It's nice to be here.
Excellent. So you've had a long and very distinguished career in data, first in privacy, then as the chief data officer at Mastercard, and now you're a Mastercard Fellow. So what exactly is a Mastercard Fellow?
Thanks for having me. And yes, I get that question a lot. In Mastercard's wisdom, I've been a lot of first, and so I'm one of their first fellows. The idea of the fellowship came up with our board of directors and our CEO and senior leaders in that for most of my career, first in privacy and then as the data officer, a good portion of my job was building external relationships and keeping a pulse on what was happening in the marketplace and building relationships first as the privacy officer with regulators, but then as the chief data officer, also with external organizations so that we understood where the marketplace was going, what future trends were happening, so we could incorporate that into our product development as well as into the way we navigated risk, et cetera. And so when generative AI burst upon the scene in 2022, we spent a good portion of 2023 with our board and really thinking about our strategy. And the organization realized that I needed to be outside the organization more, looking ahead at what was coming. And so they asked me and our CISO to become MasterCard Fellows so that we could really focus on all of the activities we had been doing kind of external to MasterCard and bring that information back to the organization. And so my colleague Ron Green, who was our CISO, says it best when he says all those activities that had been hanging off of our desk that we had been doing outside of the firm is now our main focus. And the goal is to really make sure in this moment in time when there's so much changing that we can bring all of the information back to our firm, but also allows us the time to engage with external organizations. For me, that includes organizations like the World Economic Forum, the OECD, the United Nations, et cetera. And so, as well as policy organizations, other companies, and advisory positions to really keep a pulse on how things are changing and what my firm needs to do to keep adopting and continuing to lead in this space of data and AI. So I'm a fellow of data and AI.
Amazing. It's an incredibly interesting role in this age of AI. I mean, it's never been more exciting. I've been in the business myself many years in master data management, analytics, and now I'm with Acceldata. I'm the chief product officer, and we're in the world of data observability, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a second. But the great place to start is in this age of AI and generative AI in particular, how are you seeing sort of data issues and how organizations are thinking about it with this new lens?
Sure. And in my position, I get to really talk to lots of different organizations. I get to be in rooms where companies are having the conversation around how do they balance really risks related to AI and generative AI and innovation, and we went through, I think, a couple of cycles since November of 22, when at first I think it was this kind of fear of missing out on the
Yep.
innovation moment, right? So everybody was like focused on innovation and then the pendulum swung back to, oh my gosh, but there's a lot of risk to this new technology. What do we do to navigate the risk? And I think we're somewhere now swinging back toward the middle where I think we are all innovating, but the innovation curve is now focused in a couple of areas. So, what we're seeing is a few things. One, I'm seeing organizations really focusing internally on their processes with generative AI, really trying to up the efficiency play, right? So looking at their internal practices, whether that's coding, customer service, document review for legal, HR practices, marketing, but they're doing it so that they can actually train up their employees, get better at using the tools, understanding the vendors they want to use, putting in governance, putting in data management, data quality practices, so that they get better and better internally while they get some efficiencies in how they actually run their organizations. They're also moving into product extensions innovations, right? How do they improve their products and services and perhaps extend their products so that they're more interactive for their customers?
Mhm.
Adding in chatbots, adding in more interactions to dashboards for customers, perhaps changing how sales teams are able to access product catalogs, making them more efficient, especially when catalogs are very complex, improving sales interactions, increasing customization. So, all of this is happening in the marketplace. What we're, I think, waiting for, and certainly the investor public is waiting for, is the real changeover in innovation, that kind of step change, right?
Right.
That you kind of would see that curve go up.
Yep.
I think we're seeing that in the kind of AI platform companies, right? And we haven't yet seen it yet in, so those are the kind of AI developers. I think we will start seeing it in 25 and 26 in the rest of industry. You'll start seeing that step change up in innovation. So it's a very exciting time right now. But that being said, I do think firms are cognizant of the various types of risk, whether that's in their data, whether that's in bias showing up, whether that's in modeling and the testing that's needed, or making sure that the outcomes that they're trying to drive for, no matter what the industry, are actually applicable for their customers and the communities that they serve. So all of that is going on right now.
Fantastic. And obviously all of this requires data
Yeah,
and more of it, right? And
sure.
in your career, obviously with privacy and getting involved with data governance, and then now with AI, the quality of the data is paramount.
Sure.
We always talk about data quality, garbage in, garbage out. Having high quality data dictates your business decisions, but it can have a significant, almost a adverse effect for Gen AI models, right? And, models can
Yes.
hallucinate on their own with good data, but you give it bad data, you're just asking for trouble. How are you seeing sort of the world of data quality and data management gradually evolve with this new sort of discipline for AI?
So it's really interesting, right? So, as a former chief data officer, it's really a wonderful moment, I think, for chief data officers, right? I think that many chief data officers were advocating for improvements to data quality, but for what purpose to what end, right? So,
Yeah.
we'll start there with data quality because for many, many different systems, many different products, let's just say that data quality was at 80% or 85%. And the question was, well, why do we need to have it at 90% or 95% or 100%? What was the incremental that was going to show up in the final product, right? With generative AI, because we don't know all the uses of the data, right? And we know that the data that's been created, that's being used, whether it's in a foundation model or in a company specific model, all that data was not necessarily generated for all the different uses that we're putting it to, right?
Mhm.
And we know as data professionals that the data wasn't created for all these different uses. It was just kind of generated oftentimes as a byproduct of something else, right?
Exactly.
And so the quality of that information is just whatever it was, right? So it may have been perfectly fine for its primary purpose, its initial purpose, but now that we're reusing it for a financial purpose, a health study, communications, right? Climate, or even just efficiency in any given case, we know that it may not be fit for use, right? We
Mhm.
always talk about fit for purpose, fit for use. And now we have the opportunity to improve the quality so it is better for multiple purposes, right? And so,
Exactly.
data quality at this point in time, I think many, many organizations are paying much more attention to the quality of the information, both that they generate, and for firms that purchase data, they're really looking at the quality of that information to make sure it's fit for the uses that they're putting it to. And I think that's really, really powerful, especially at this moment, because we know that AI and generative AI learn from the data we put into these models, right? And back to your comment of garbage in, garbage out, it's not that we would, always put in bad information, but our information's like Swiss cheese. It's missing things, right? Or it has maybe too much information one way and not enough another way. And so our results will start getting slanted, which is what bias is over time. And it will actually begin to look a certain way that leaves out results that are possibly very desirous or applicable to wide populations. And we need that quality of information to actually, or the inputs, right, to actually reflect whoever our populations of customers, employees, right, um, communities are, to actually be reflected in our products and solutions. So data quality is having its moment, and it's very, very exciting, I think, to see that. From a data management perspective, your second part of your question, I think that data management, those data dictionaries, those ontologies, the relationship between different data elements, right? All of those different tools, I think everybody was eager to put them into place. But again, the rate of return on that was always kind of questionable. But it's an interesting moment because I think AI can make data management easier, and also AI is the reason data management now is necessary, right? Because you want to understand the relationship between the different data elements you have, understand their veracity, their accuracy, their completeness and consistency. And you want to make sure those definitions are right throughout your firm or an ecosystem in which you operate. And so you want to have more transparency. And I know you do data observability. You want to understand all of that more and more, and AI can help with that. So it's a very interesting time for data management right now.
It
So I
is.
know you know more about that, but so
No,
it's really a great time for to be a data professional in this
that's
space.
that's brilliantly well put, JoAnn. It's exactly what we're seeing. Sort of data observability is a new category. It's been around actually 6 years, ever since Acceldata started, and
Right.
our CEO coined the term. But it's been a sort of a gradual layering in, and it's been touted as improving data quality, because the definition of data quality is actually expanding. It used to just be, is the information correct? Is it well formed, as you pointed out? But what you just described, right, is the data being delivered on time? Is it fresh? Is it contextually correct, right, for the applicability for which it's going to be used? All of those things are not in the purview of traditional data management. So data observability not only provides, as you mentioned, the lineage to see actual data coming from data sources, but also supports all of the things you described where people are buying data. Am I getting the data that I paid for? Is it accurate enough for me to feed into my systems, right? All of those
And
things.
is it coming from the parties that I think it's coming from, right? And
Exactly.
many organizations have data principles and AI principles that they've published, right? And transparency is one of them. And observability actually helps with that transparency requirement. So, but again, I think it's really, really exciting to put all of the data skills into motion with AI and generative AI at this time. So just really a wonderful time to really be addressing these issues and thinking about them with a fresh set of eyes and lenses, to make sure that organizations, as we leapfrog into this future of innovation, which I believe is only going to continue,
Mhm.
make sure that, to your original comment, the data that we're using is really, really applicable to the problems and so that we're solving and the solutions we're creating, because we're at the early days of AI.
Yeah.
We want this intelligence to be learning on really great food, right? And if data is the food for AI, we want the quality of the food to only get better and better and better.
That's a fantastic analogy, right? You want a healthy Gen AI ecosystem. So what you put in is going to be extremely important in terms of the quality of the data. One of the things I wanted to touch upon that you had mentioned was the fact that AI can help with data management and assist, right? So certainly in data observability, things like anomaly detection, right? So how can AI, once you have the lineage in place with the data observability platform, spot trends and detect situations where it's deviating from its normal pattern without having a human being just staring at all the data all the time, right? And then when something breaks, a pipeline breaks, and there's bad delivery, you need to fix that fast, because the data, as you said, is the food that fuels Gen AI and AI. And obviously, no food, no Gen AI, right? So
And the
this is
AI is going to be better than any set of human eyes at
exactly
spotting some of that stuff too, right?
at scale, at speed. We see data volumes now in the petabytes, right? because the more you feed the AI engine, the better it's going to be. And the thirst for volumes of data, people just can't keep up. And traditional data quality measures can't keep up either.
Agree.
Yeah,
Agree.
so I want to thank you, JoAnn, not just for coming on, but also for all your work with the World Economic Forum, the United Nations. You've really taken your Mastercard Fellow charter, and you're doing incredible good for all of us. And it's very appreciative in the work that you do. And thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure chatting.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it.
Me too.